I'm 29 years old, and being a single mom has never been easy. I work as a customer service employee at a small bank, and most days I'm so busy trying to balance work and taking care of my 6-year-old daughter, Laura, that I barely even get time to sleep properly. Because of my job, there were nights when I had no choice but to leave her alone in our small apartment for a few hours. I always hated doing that, but I didn't really have another option. This happened on a cold Tuesday night. Earlier that evening, someone had tried accessing my bank account, so after work I had to stay late at the branch to file reports and fix the issue with my manager. By the time everything was done, it was almost midnight when I finally returned home. I remember feeling exhausted as I walked through the quiet apartment hallway. Even before entering, something about that night felt wrong. I unlocked the apartment door and stepped inside. At first, everything seemed completely silent until I heard my daughter whispering. The sound was coming from the living room corner. When I slowly walked closer, my entire body froze. Laura was sitting in the dark near an old broken lamp we kept beside the wall. She was quietly talking to someone, but there was nobody there. I stood there in complete shock, trying to understand what I was looking at. Then I heard her softly say, "Yeah, that's my mommy." It sounded exactly like she was answering someone's question about me. A few seconds later she giggled and said, "No, she doesn't let me eat too much chocolate." At that point my heart started racing. I kept staring into the darkness, expecting someone to suddenly appear beside her. But the corner was completely empty. Then something happened that I still can't explain. Whatever was supposedly talking to my daughter said something to her, because right after that, Laura slowly turned her head toward me and smiled. For a second, I genuinely felt terrified of my own child. I panicked and screamed her name as loudly as I could. I kept holding her and repeatedly asked, "Laura, Laura, are you okay, baby?" She suddenly looked confused, almost like she had just woken up from a dream. She immediately ran toward me crying and hugged me tightly. She acted like she didn't remember anything that had just happened. After I told a few friends about it, every single one of them suggested me to leave that apartment immediately. A week later, me and my daughter moved into my dad's house across town. Now Laura is completely fine, and these days I finally get to spend much more time with her. But even after everything, there's still one thing that keeps haunting me. What was the thing that was talking to my daughter that night? And sometimes, late at night, I still can't help but wonder, what if it followed us here too? I still remember that night perfectly. It was around 1:30 a.m. when I took my girlfriend to the beach for the very first time. We'd been so caught up with our busy schedules that we hadn't properly seen each other in weeks. So that night honestly meant the world to me. She was my first girlfriend, and to be fair, I was way more excited than nervous. The beach was completely empty. A cold wind was hitting the waves, giving the whole place this strange, quiet kind of peace. All we wanted was to escape everyone else and just spend some time together. But looking back now, I wish we had never gone. The whole thing still feels completely unreal to me. It was around 3 a.m. when we decided to go for a short walk along the shore. We were just talking, and without realizing it, we drifted pretty far from our car and the tent. Right ahead of us, where the beach ended, there was this small, dark patch of trees, almost like a mini jungle. We figured it'd be a nice, quiet spot to just sit down and talk for a bit. We'd barely been there for 5 minutes when we started hearing voices coming from deep inside the trees. Because the beach was so dead silent, even their low whispers carried right to us. My girlfriend and I instantly froze. At first, we were absolutely terrified, but after a few seconds, we somehow managed to gather enough courage to see who could possibly be out there at that time of night. As we slowly got closer to the jungle, we noticed a fire burning behind the trees. And the moment we moved a little nearer, my heart completely dropped. Those things standing around the fire were not normal humans. They looked like some kind of creatures. They had arms and legs like people, but their bodies looked wrong, unnatural. Everything happened so fast that we never got a clear look at them, but one thing I clearly remember is their size. They were almost twice the size of a normal person. Without making a sound, we slowly stepped back, then suddenly turned around and started running toward the car as fast as we could. I don't even remember breathing while running. Within minutes, we reached the car and drove away from that beach immediately. The next day, I told the police everything. Honestly, even while explaining it, I thought maybe fear had messed with our minds. But then something happened that still terrifies me. When the police searched the area, they actually found fresh ashes from a fire exactly where we saw those creatures standing. That means someone or something was truly there that night. But honestly, seeing them with my own eyes wasn't even the scariest part. The thing that truly haunts me is the thought of what could have happened if those creatures had noticed us watching them. Judging by their size, we wouldn't have stood a single chance against them. We were nothing compared to whatever those things were. And sometimes I still think about how close we probably came to never making it out of that beach alive. I used to work the night shift at an old school on the edge of town. During the daytime, the school was always crowded with teachers, students, janitors, and office staff. But at night, almost the entire building was left under my responsibility. My job was basically to patrol different sections of the school, make sure every hallway and classroom was locked properly, check the cameras, and report if anything unusual happened. The day staff usually handled the classrooms, cafeteria, offices, and maintenance work, while my responsibility started after everyone went home. Every night I had to walk through the empty hallways, check the gym area, the science labs, storage rooms, library, basement, and sometimes even the rooftop. Most nights were completely normal, quiet enough that you could hear your own footsteps echo through the corridors. One night, I was sitting in my office watching the security cameras like usual when suddenly I heard a terrifying scream. It sounded like a girl screaming somewhere inside the school. In just a moment, everything around me started feeling different. I was literally shaking from fear, but back then I never really believed in ghosts or paranormal things. So I picked up my flashlight and started walking toward the hallway. I slowly kept moving forward while turning on the lights wherever I passed, because after hearing that scream, I didn't have enough courage to walk through the dark school with only a flashlight. I had already walked pretty far away from my office and past several classrooms, but until then I still hadn't seen anything strange. But as soon as I started passing by the science lab area, I suddenly heard the sound of glass breaking. That instantly made me alert, and I thought maybe a thief had entered the school. I quickly took out the keys and started unlocking the science lab door. But after stepping inside the room, what I saw there is something I don't think I'll ever forget. There was a girl sitting on one of the lab benches with very long hair, and she was just sitting there with her head lowered. I tried calling out to her, but I was so terrified that my voice could barely come out properly. I asked her who she was and what she was doing there alone at that time of night, but she didn't answer me at all. Then I noticed a rusty rod lying nearby, so I quickly picked it up and tried scaring her with it. And at that exact moment, the girl slowly lifted her face toward me. The second I saw her face, I completely froze. That girl was not normal. Her eyes were red, and her nose looked unnaturally long. Nothing about her face looked human in any way. The moment I saw that, I immediately turned around and started running, which honestly was probably the smartest thing I could have done. I ran through the hallways as fast as I could. Thankfully, I had left the hallway lights turned on earlier, so it became easier for me to escape from there. I immediately left the school, grabbed my bike, and got out of there. The next day, I shared the entire incident with the school staff, and they checked the security cameras. But in all the footage, only I could be seen walking through the school. The science lab camera was mysteriously not working that night, so we never got any footage from inside the room. But the strangest thing is, if someone had truly entered the science lab, then why was nobody seen entering from outside? That experience taught me to believe in ghosts, and even today, the fear of what I saw that night still hasn't left my eyes.